Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
And welcome back to America's Heroes Group with our roundtable and our partner, the National Women's Veterans United, NWVU. June is LGBTQ Pride Month. Today is Saturday, June 10th, 2023. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And we have Rochelle Crump with us again, a partner. She's a U.S. Army veteran and founder and president of the National Women's Veterans United. How you doing, Rochelle?
I'm doing fine, Sean. Thank you. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So I did not know, what is Women's Veterans Day? I didn't know they had a Women's Veterans Day. When is that? What is that all about? When is it?
Really? Yeah, it is actually on June the 12th, which is Monday. It is actually created by legislation, and not every state has it. Now, it is this year is the 75th anniversary of the groundbreaking, really, of Women's Armed Services for the Integration Act, which was signed into law by the President, Harry Truman, on June the 12th of 1948. And it also enabled, women to serve as permanent regular members of the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, and the Air Force. And so, it's huge for us, pretty much, for those of us who have served in the armed forces, because it gave us the right actually to be called a soldier, to be called, you know what I'm saying, a Marine, because even though we were wearing that uniform, we did not have the same rights as they did with, like as a soldier, pretty much. And so, and then when you look at it, according to the VA, like we're one of the fastest growing demographics in the United States, for military. Yeah, for, we're like 20%. We'll be 20% anyway, they said, by 2045. And so, it's just rolling around because it's male-dominated. We'll never be able to catch up with that number, as far as males are concerned. That's being veterans, that's being in the military, So that's why it's so important for us, to have that day. Now, keep in mind, some women, I heard, that don't necessarily, think it's necessary to say or have a quote-unquote Women Veterans Day. Now, I know that was a very small population because too many of them are doing the work, in different states, trying to make sure that that is legislation that they have in their states. So I think it's a small population that feel that, we just can say we are veterans. Well, it's okay to just say that we are veterans, but look at, the significant part of why it means so much to many of us, and it's more so because of that male domination. And so, when we say we are veterans, and I can give you like some examples, like here it is, 2003, and June the 2nd of 2003, I went for a medical appointment in a VA facility in the clinic. And, they asked me my name, my number, and all this stuff. And then they wanted to know, does Mr. Crump have any insurance? Like I'm bringing in the veteran. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at her like she crazy and out of her mind. It was such an insult, and you wonder, my whole thing was, well, how long have you been working here? Right. Because I know I'm not the first woman veteran that has come in here. Right. So, and then it didn't stop there, because Memorial Day, when we were waiting after we had decorated the truck and all that stuff, waiting to pass on, and a guy walks up. I'm talking to three of the other veterans. They were male, I'm female. And he came and he said, thanks for your service, man. Thanks for your service. Gave him dap and, and stuff like that. He looked at me, now, man, I got all this stuff on me that indicates I'm a veteran, too. And he looked at me and turned the other way. I mean, I was just so insulted, but I didn't let him get away. I said, hey, what about me? And then he's like, oh, my sister, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I said, that is not enough. I said, this is 2023, and you don't know that women, I go into this educational piece with him, and it's just like on and on. And when does that ever stop? That's the whole thing. We do so much to try to make, it known that women serve this country too. So more education, We have to keep pushing it. I keep telling the women, hey, I don't care if I have on a ball gown, I'm gonna put on a hat that says I'm veteran, or I'm gonna put some combat boots on, something, because they're gonna need to learn this lesson one way or the other,
I think it's also important,
though,
that people actually understand the struggles that women veterans go through today. Because the thing is, when people think about Veterans Day, I think is important because veterans are carrying a lot. It reminds me of that poem. You might have heard that poem, The Things That They Carry. I mean, they're not just the things we carry in our duffel bags. The poem's about the things we carry in our minds and our souls and our spirits, and those experiences that come from, sometimes from combat, from the military experience, from being, God forbid, being a POW. But women have to deal with other stuff on top of that. You got a military sexual trauma that's prevalent in the military. You have sexual harassment. You have job discrimination. You have discrimination and even just trying to make rank in the military. All the stuff you got to deal with being a woman in the military. And we don't think about that. Nobody even looks at that. And oftentimes, when we go back and look at history, we find that a lot of positive social changes have been invented by the military. Integration came out of the military.
Absolutely.
A lot of the things that how we think of, even a lot, you can even argue that the military is starting to it was turning the corner, starting leading the way and recognizing the contributions of LGBTQ. Because the military is saying, wait a minute, there's some value here. We can have people that the military learned that the more diverse your fighting force is, the more ideas and the ways you can basically defend yourself against all kinds of different enemies, foreign, domestic, wherever, because the more ideas and thoughts you have. Native Americans who were used to create codes during World War I, and the Germans could not figure out what these guys were talking about. Nobody could figure them out because it was such an indigenous language that they were able to, the Native Americans were able to help us, keep information private and sensitive because they were writing it in their native language. Sending sensitive information back and forth and helped us win the war.
Absolutely, but you can take it even more to at home and look at the fact that, and nobody looks at this, but just look at the Afghanistan and the Iraq war. If it had not been for women, the number of women that they had in the military at that time, they would have had to go into a draft.
Yes.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
So that's always overlooked, and it's always, when you look at even the types of jobs that they learn to do and, master in and everything like that. And then when they come home, even because they are women, they still can't go into those fields because they're blocked out of them because of the male domination and because, of course, they feel that that's a man's job. So, it's a lot of that give and take, but it has so much to do with people understanding, all those things that you did, that you said, but more so about what the women did, because they have to be acknowledged one way or the other. And then I understand those people who have children. Their children have to grow up basically to keep that going. You know what I'm saying? And these younger veterans, we're fighting for them. They're going to be the step on our shoulder group. But if we don't fix it for them now, then eventually they're going to lose that battle of even being recognized for any of the things and significant things that they do. So we have an obligation just for our younger veterans to make sure that they are not left out of history, that they are, awarded those benefits that they deserve, that they basically have, some parts within things that they need just even to keep them in well-being, arena. So we have an obligation to do that. And, and we're up to the challenge of that, because we still got a lot of stuff to do and change in policies. And, when we can't change policies and things like that, that's when we don't see money. That's when we don't get the funding for things because there's no policies that goes along with it, to identify all of the needs. And that's what we're actually experiencing now. We see this over and over again, that the people who have these big organizations are the ones who are getting the fundings, and the little people who are doing all the work are getting the crumbs if they get any. So, and that's with the veteran organization, because we are one of very few all women veterans that have an organization, a facility. And so, it's a bypass. We don't really, get the big dollars. But they give them to the American Legion, they give them to the Red Cross, they give them to all those places pretty much that have been here for years where we weren't even invited to the table. Let's just say that.
So do you see a lot of women in the American Legion? That's one thing I never thought about. Do you see a lot of women in the American Legion or the VFWs? The Veterans of Foreign Wars?
Women in the organizations. They're getting their growth of it too. A lot of times what they do is when they first get out of the military, they pay their dues. They give them a year membership. So that's how they get it. But now whether or not they continue on is another thing, because most of them don't. Because one thing is when the younger girls go in there, young ladies go into the facility and they see all these old men, mostly, and then they'll push them over there to the auxiliary, because they just don't fit in there. They don't. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like them sitting in the room with their parents.
Wow.
You get that picture? You know what I'm saying? Now they're going to a place where their parents would be going instead of them going.
So you don't think the VFWs and the American Legions have kind of kept up with the times as far as being like
no,
modern?
they have not.
But one thing too, though, you got to think about it though, is that the military population is aging, and that's now, you know what, I got to co-sign what you just said, because when I talk to guys that are in, like, I have friends that are in the VFW close to where I work, or it's not VFW, it's the American Legion. But the thing is, in that particular place, they even complain about it. All the guys that are coming out of the military from Afghanistan and Iraq right now are not joining. They're trying to do outreach and trying to get these guys to come in, and they're not interested in coming in. They got the bar in there, and they got all kinds of activities in there. They got their first responders day where they're giving out pizza and burgers and hot dogs and stuff, but they're not getting the younger generation. But the military population, and for that as a whole, is aging. The majority of the military population are seniors because the military force is shrinking. And as it seems, the direction that the military is going into is they're getting more automation. Everything's becoming more robotic, and computers, and press a button, do this and do that. Everything is AI and all this kind of stuff. So there seems to be, and they're up in the ante as to what type of skills that they want from new recruits. You can't just come in there with a high school diploma. It seems like nowadays it's harder and harder to do that. You definitely can't go in there and get a GED.
No. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one, because the latest thing that happened was because the retention and recruitment is down so low that they're accepting them with tattoos, with braids, with, they've really gone.
That's right.
Like in
That's right. I heard about
mode
that,
where So, they'd like to take it back to that, because it should. We lost a lot of good standards within the organization, and so one thing that you always took pride in was being different from the population, but that's gone out the window because they need that recruitment.
Wow.
So, when you look at it, it's the same thing for the women. They had their chance to put in what they wanted and stuff like that, but, I looked at what they asked for. They wanted to wear fingernail polish. They wanted to wear lipstick. They wanted to wear long hair, and all this kind of stuff, which was irrelevant in so many ways to, looking at a career. How do we best get to career being officers and making more money? You know what I'm saying? I think that should have been what was on the table. Things like that have some significant, parts for leadership and, being able to pass it on to the next person. What are you passing on to the next person? Oh, you can wear braids now. You can, no. So there's a lot of work to do, and this is where those policies and procedures come in, even in the military, as the standards are shrinking. But we have so much work to do, and we need those finances pretty much to get it done, because we can't just invite people to programs and can't produce programs because we can't afford them. So, as we look at what's in the future for us and more women who are coming out, and you spoke to the fact that, it's getting to be, the population is getting much, much older. How do we look at, bringing in those younger people? They need to be going into leadership roles and things like that, but keep it in mind, you got to do things because they have children. They have small children now also. So it's got to be that kind of friendly facility for them, where they can bring the children, where the activities are surrounding their children, and this is how they strengthen some of the things that they already had in place as well, because even with the American Legion, when they have, like the scholarships and things like that, of course, they want those type of things, and they need them. So those are advertising pieces that they can get for the younger veterans to come in also. But more than anything, it's that significant part of understanding what they've gone through and how to best, connect them to those services and give them those tools that they really need. We're starting to do like workshops and things like that with the Red Cross, pretty much, about different mental health issue items that, will help people just in a daily atmosphere to take care of themselves. So, our work is not done. We have a lot of more work to do. And, we thank, America's Heroes Group for giving us the platform to be able to talk about these things because they are so important, So when we get through this day, we always still going to be veterans. So after Veteran Day is over, we still veterans. You know what I'm saying? So you look at those things also, and then what more can we do to help? We have to be able to keep pushing it. We have to keep talking about it, and we got to keep them at the table.
So my question is this: so women are the fastest demographic that are joining the military today.
Yes.
But there's so many things that women have to face joining the military. I think about this all the time. If I had a daughter, I wouldn't want my daughter necessarily, me personally, I wouldn't want my daughter unless she really wanted to do it. I have to sit down and tell her, look, you got to be prepared for sexual harassment. You got to be prepared for maybe somebody trying to rape you. People that you were friends with might get drunk one day and do something that might affect you psychologically, whatever, or physically for the long term. There's so many things, and also even the fact that, like what we talked about today, your career advancement. How many opportunities? How easy is it going to be? Are they going to look at your work, your body of work, and are they going to respect that against your peers? Because it is still a male-dominated organization. It is what it is. However,
absolutely.
So why are women joining the military in such strong numbers? Why is it the fastest growing demographic?
I think a lot of it is coming from the fact that they want to go to school, they want to get educated, and taking out grants and all of that kind of stuff to go to school, and that's what they're feeding them right now because they get it for free, and they also learn how to, do different jobs and things like that, which is the best thing in the world when you can get that stuff for free, but
or
it
get
does
paid to do it.
And getting paid,
Right.
So, you look at it, but there's some consequences in it, and hopefully they will resolve those things, and I think it more has to do with, people coming into the military. I don't think there's a lot of learned behavior there in the military. I think a lot of this is coming from the outside. We talked about that before, but, women are targeted anyway.
Right.
Even if you look at today's society, look at all these women that are getting killed, all these younger women being kidnapped and things like that. And if you look at the demographics of it and the size of these people, it seems like they're getting these younger people that are small statured and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to look at all these ways of how we can protect them. So sending them in the military, should be the last place that we should expect that there will be something to happen to them, but it does, and it needs to be fixed, and they have to.
So you guys doing anything on Women's Veterans Day? You guys got anything planned for your organization?
Actually, we did it today. We did it today because we had our meeting today. So we had our little gathering and everything. We released balloons, and we had a great audience over there on Pulaski Road, because it's a busy street, and everybody was cheering us on, We had on our gear and everything, and we had a deep conversation today about why do we think this day is so important, and everyone had something different, even though some, agree with what everyone said. And it's interesting that they all need the acknowledgement of it. Each of them have gone through denial of being, a woman veteran and having to defend it in some kind of way. Whether it have been in the hospital and not being recognized as that veteran, and or just in the general population out in, in their employment and other places where they have gone, where they've had to challenge it all the time. So, it was extreme that we all felt the same way and how important it is, but we all agreed too that it is up to us to make this go away and to change it and let there not be any doubt about women serving in the military. It's up to us to get this done, and we will. And
Rochelle
we will.
Crump, U.S. Army veteran, founder and president of National Women's Veterans United. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good Women's Veterans Day to you and everybody out there that served in the military. This is America's Heroes Group.
Thank you for your service.
My pleasure. This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.